All right, welcome back to the channel. So Mikey Garcia has a little something to say about the welterweight division, the Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence matchup, as well as Manny Pacquiao. And I think he hits the nail on the head about Manny Pacquiao. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back. Welterweight division in boxing is the best division in boxing, in my opinion, right now. It's a very deep division, maybe the first or second deepest division, along with 154 pounds. But you have you have a longtime champion, great future Hall of Fame, all-time great according to a lot of people, Manny Pacquiao. You got Terrence Crawford, who I believe and a lot of other people believe is the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. You have Errol Spence Jr., who many people believe is one of the top pound for pound fighters in the world and the best 147 pounder right now. He's the longest reigning 147 pound champion, and he's the only unified 147 pound champion, holding the IBF belt and the WBC belt. Now, a newcomer to the division and an unsuccessful finally successful in his rise to the 147 pound division is Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is I think he's like a 4-division champion, title holder. You know, man, sometimes calling people certain cats champions when there's 9 million belts in a division, it gets kind of funny. But regardless, you know, Mikey Garcia is a 4-division title holder, which is nothing to sneeze at. He's held titles at 140, at 135, at 130, at 120, and 126 pounds. He's had good wins at 126 pounds, obviously, because he beat Orlando Salido right before Orlando Salido beat Vasily Lomachenko. So Mikey Garcia is a real deal fighter, man. He's a real deal fighter. He beat a very good Sergey Lipinets for his 140 pound title. He beat a very solid Robert Easter Jr. to unify at 135 pounds. You know, he moves up to 147 pounds though. And the dude is just, just ran into the wrong guy. He tried to jump to the front of the line, got slapped in the mouth, got sent back to the back of the line real quick when he fought Errol Spence Jr. But Mikey Garcia, talking about what he wants to do at the welterweight division, mentioned the Errol Spence Jr. fight and the advantages that Errol Spence Jr. had, over him. But yet he's still very committed. And I do believe he's got a chance to do it. Mikey Garcia is very committed to winning the belt or winning the title at 147 pounds. I think he's gonna, the way boxing is again with all these titles, he has a great chance to get it. If he was working with Bob Arum, he probably would already had the WBO. He probably would already had the WBO welterweight title, but he's in that weight class looking for fights. Now, there was a fight for Mikey Garcia that is getting pushed heavy by DAZN and Eddie Hearn. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with that from that perspective because, DAZN is a little bit of trouble because I'm sure they've lost a lot of subscribers. Their subscriber base, I wouldn't be surprised if their subscriber base easily dropped in half. I wouldn't be surprised if it dropped, as much as 90%, because at least in the United States, because there's no live sporting events really going on in the United States. And those guys, that's their whole source of their channel is live sporting events. So their subscription base more than likely is going to really drop off. But if they're able to overcome it, and before we ran into all of this, DAZN was really pushing to get Mikey Garcia, who fought Jesse Vargas on DAZN in his last fight. They were really pushing very hard to get the fight between Mikey Garcia and Manny Pacquiao off the ground. So it was with that in mind that Mikey Garcia has been scouting out Manny Pacquiao, and he talked about the difference for him for fighting Manny Pacquiao versus fighting Errol Spence, and why he believes that the Manny Pacquiao fight is pretty much, much more winnable for him, right? And because that's the only thing that he could really mean by, he doesn't hold the same advantages, that other welterweights hold on me. Now, what are those advantages? The advantages are basically all around size, around arm length, right? Arm length, and just in physical height. He doesn't have height or real big reach advantages over Mikey Garcia, where when he was fighting Errol Spence Jr., Mikey Garcia might be 5. Yeah, man, I'll be gracious and call Mikey Garcia 5'7". I think 5'6" is probably, the safer bet. Wouldn't be surprised if you really measure him. He was around there 5'5" and a half. But I'm not sure what he's listed at, but no taller than 5'6". So you have Errol Spence Jr., who's, pushing 5'10". Man, that was when and I don't know if you remember when these guys really, the first time Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia took pictures together, and that was on the PBC, like the introduction, prep to the fight. Actually, it was the beginning of 2018, and Showtime had all of their, was it Fox? Fox had all of the PBC fighters and matchups for that year, first half of that year. They were all lined up. So you got to see for the first time Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence Jr. standing next to each other. And man, the height difference was gigantic. It looked like Mikey Garcia was coming up to his shoulder, But you also see the same thing when Manny Pacquiao is fighting guys that are a lot taller than him, or like a Jeff Horn, where he's like looking up at Jeff Horn. So anyway, so that advantage that Errol Spence Jr. had over Mikey Garcia is just it's not going to be there for Manny Pacquiao. And Manny Pacquiao, also, Mikey Garcia talked about the relationship, the past experience that he has had with Manny Pacquiao as a sparring partner. And he said that, look, man, when I was sparring Manny Pacquiao, I would spar him like in the style of a Juan Manuel Marquez or the style of an Eric Morales. And he's like, man, even though that was sparring, that it was working out very well for me. So he's going in there, feeling really confident, like he could beat Manny Pacquiao. And to tell you the truth, I would not be surprised at all if Mikey Garcia could pull that off. Mikey Garcia knows the style that causes Manny Pacquiao problems. He's got an absolutely great lead right hand, all of that good stuff. Now, the last part that I want to talk about the interview with Mikey Garcia is that he talked about Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. Now, we know that Mikey Garcia actually fought Errol Spence Jr., so he's very familiar with him. He's also fought Terrence Crawford in the amateurs, and Terrence Crawford beat him in the amateurs. So, Mikey Garcia has experience losing to both of those guys, and he was asked to predict the fight and gave a non-answer, but he did acknowledge some things and give some insight on it about why he thought it would be very, very complicated. Essentially, that's what he did. He predicted that the fight was going to be very complicated. He said this would be the first time that these guys have faced somebody that they don't have, significant height or reach advantages. In this particular fight, I think Errol Spence has the height advantage and Terrence Crawford has the reach advantage. I think Terrence Crawford might have a 2-inch reach advantage over Errol Spence, and Errol Spence has just about 1.5 inches height advantage over Terrence Crawford. So neither one of them, not big differences in either area. The other one said that the other areas that they pointed to, that they both box very well, that they both are very fundamental, that they're both fundamentally sound fighters. I think Errol Spence Jr. is a little more fundamentally, or he's a little more tight with his game than Terrence Crawford is, but they both understand and know how to box very, very well. Like I said before, both of these guys, on most people's lists are listed in the top 5 pound for pound. Terrence Crawford is number 1 on a lot, gets as low as number 3. Errol Spence Jr. typically is floating somewhere between like 7 and 4, depending on who you're talking to. But basically most people, believe that both of these guys are terrific fighters. And then, there's the IQ. Then he says the boxing IQ. They're both very smart fighters. And I'll trust I'll trust that that's true because Mikey Garcia is saying it, and Mikey Garcia has a reputation for being one of the smarter boxers in the world. So I think that's fair to say, man. Now, I don't think it's that complicated. I think that, and I don't think that it's the IQ of anybody that's going to determine that fight. I think they're both bright guys and both, know what they're doing in a boxing ring. My thing is that it's just the come forward nature of Errol Spence Jr. and the amount of pressure that he puts on people, and just the volume and the intensity of the fight that he brings. That's why I favor him over Terrence Crawford, because Terrence Crawford likes to set things up. He likes to pot shot. He likes to take his time. But at the end of the day, when it's time to mix it up and he gets hit, he's going to hit back. So I just see a really, really good fight. But I see Errol Spence Jr. getting that by a decision, man. Maybe a unanimous decision, split decision, whatever, a decision. But I would see it being leaning towards Errol Spence. But like Mikey Garcia said, or I can see why he would say that it was complicated and wanted to kind of stay away from making that prediction. But, it is what it is. I certainly cannot wait till these fights actually happen. I do believe that these fights will happen. And one of the things that make me believe that is because, with all of this money that's being lost, right, by promoters, by fighters, that, if this thing goes too long, that they're going to really have to compete with each other over making the best fights, right? Instead of kind of competing with each other, with who's got the best marketing, who can market their fighter the best, and try to convince people somehow that Tyson Fury is a huge star in the United States. All that type of crap, man. Hopefully we can get to the point where they have to have the best fighters fight each other, because that's the only thing people be willing to pay for. Don't hold your breath for it though, but that's just my wishes. Anyway, it is what it is, man. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you for talking boxing with me today. And with that, I'm out. Peace.